welcome back to the interviews of the European Livestock Voice. Today we are going to speak about a very important topic, a topic which is which there is a lot of confusion, and that I'm very glad to talk about. It's animal breeding. We are going to talk about that with somebody who knows very well about that, and she's the director of the European Forum of Farm Animal Breeders, EFFAB, and she's Ana Granados. Welcome, Ana.
Hello.
Hi, very nice to have you with us and to discuss about this topic, because really I think it's very important, but there is a lot of confusion. And by the way, EFFAB is one of the members of the European Livestock Voice, so it was very easy to reach you, and it's very useful to deepen this subject. So I ask you, please, if you can introduce yourself more appropriately and describe what EFFAB is doing, and tell us, of course, what animal breeding is, please.
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. Sure. Well, I'm Ana Granados, as you say, and I'm the director of the association representing European animal breeders. So we are the voice of European animal breeders, mainly at the European level, but of course also in some international fora. We have members also out of Europe. We are raising awareness about what animal breeding is. We try to engage in dialogue to show developments in the sector. That's our main, we engage in policy and legislation, but we also engage on disseminating results from the research. That is very important. We are participating in some European projects. We think it's really important in terms of being aware about what our members are doing. We have also members from academia. So the connection with the research sector and the innovation is highly important for us, and also for our argumentation and to make aware people about what animal breeding is. So animal breeding is the collection of a lot of data. That's something that perhaps people don't know very well. So what we mainly, our members mainly do, breeding associations and breeding companies, is to collect a huge amount of data from animals on large populations in ruminants, poultry, pigs, aquaculture, from a large number of characteristics. And with this evaluation, this allows them to select the best animals to be the parents of the next generation. So that's what it really is in few words. Okay, so it's about yeah, exactly. What we try to do is that what the breeding companies try to do is to help the parents are going to provide to the offspring better genetics to cope with farming, to have a good life, and to produce animal products. At the end of the day, that's what animal farming is. So it's about animals and it's about farmers.
Question, because of course somebody can think it's about producing more, and I guess it was like that in the past decades. So it's surely about productivity, I guess, but it's, is there something more? Because I can imagine that you are improving animals to be healthier or stronger. So paradoxically, to use less antibiotics, for instance. Is it like that?
Yes, of course, that's the case. It doesn't make sense to make animals that produce a lot, but they are not healthy. So the point is that you cannot decide on the quantity of the products that an animal can produce without taking care of animal welfare and animal health. And of course, that's this breeding goals in terms of animal health and welfare, just an example, have been on the focus of animal breeders from the last 20 years. Even more, but let's stop in 20 years. And so genetics and animal breeding, what they are focusing in animal health, animal welfare. When we talk about animal health, for example, it's the health of the udder of dairy cows. That's an important breeding goal. Animal welfare is also on the focus, but can be translated in many different characteristics depending on the species. But we have also what is important is the reduce of carbon footprint from animals, and this can be done directly and indirectly. An indirectly form is what we have been calling for years feed efficiency. So one of the most important traits that we have been improving through animal breeding is the quantity of feed that animals have to eat for the same output, let's say. So decreasing the secretion of ammonia, for example, in pigs and poultry. So a chicken, and it's not only one chicken, of course, there is a huge variety, but chickens nowadays need less feed, whatever is this production system, than 30 years ago. And that is a reality of genetic improvement.
But what about genetic diversity? Because I also hear a lot that, animal breeding and livestock are making disappear genetic diversity. Is it really like that?
Well, there are two kinds of genetic diversity. The first thing to know is that if we don't have genetic diversity within a population, you cannot make selection. So you cannot, if you don't see differences between individuals, between cows or between chickens or between hens, if there are if difference between them don't exist, you cannot make selection for the best one because they are all the same. So to make breeding, to perform animal breeding programs and to measure these differences, you need genetic diversity. And that is a very important topic within our membership, because we have to keep genetic diversity to make breeding, but at the same time, you have to provide animals to farmers that have kind of same characteristics in different ways, but same characteristics. So it's a balance that has to be performed by breeding associations and companies on keeping genetic diversity, but trying to have a next generation or a selection of parents that are going to help all the farmers in the field. So yeah, it's a balance, but it's of course very important. After the second genetic diversity that we can talk about is the diversity of breeds. And that is of course true that there are more commercial breeds that we can see in many different countries. There are large commercial, that are largely implemented in farms. And there are more local breeds that we have to take care of them. And breeding associations are also taking care of them. Could be better, of course. That's what we are also doing in animal breeding, is to have a continuous improvement of activities. But this, we have to take into account this different genetic diversity. It's different depending on the species, of course, the way we have this approach. But yeah, it has to exist to make breeding. So that's the first step.
Oh, so it's very important. It's also a question of preserving genetic diversity, which is something, again, major that I don't think many people know. And it's also about fish, as far as I understood. It's not only about cows and pigs.
No. It's we have our memberships. Our membership is breeding. Is about breeding associations and reproduction, because we also we always shorten the title, because breeding and reproduction is quite long. But our members are also making reproduction, because when you make genetics, when you improve, you have to transmit this, and that is done by reproduction. But all of our members, they are trying. The point is to preserve genetic diversity, but also to try to improve it. That's a big challenge, of course.
Can you imagine?
It's not only preservation.
Let's call it responsible breeding.
Exactly.
Because I've heard this expression and I find it pretty appropriate. And I ask you another thing. I mean, it can be a last thing already for our first chat today. You spoke about genetic improvement, and you spoke about a collection of data. So I see clearly that it's quite an innovative sector, the one of animal breeding. So how do you see the future of animal breeding in terms of impacts, of course, but also innovation?
Well, you talk about responsible breeding, and I will add responsible and balanced breeding. That's what our members are doing, are investing in the future to make it better. So why responsible and balanced breeding? So this responsibility, we already talked about it before, and balance, because we put in a balance all these things that are important for animal farming. So productivity is not has not a bigger weight in a breeding program in 2022. So this balance thing is very important, and how to reach this balance on giving weight and including more and more traits. That's what the future is for our sector. It's about collecting a lot of data. It's what we call phenotypes. It's what we look like, and also animals. And these phenotypes has to be translated to what is in the genetics of the animals. So it's going to represent, it's a lot of statistics, it's a lot of data to be treated, but it's also about to know what is in the genetic code of animals. So it's to make the relation between them. So it's searching more and more how to make the link between what an animal looks like and what is in their genetic code, to be sure that we are selecting the right animals. So that's the innovation in the future, the treatment of big data, more and more, and the appropriate data, and to know more about the mechanism of animals or expressing their genetics in farming systems. And I'm talking about farming systems in plural all the time, because that's what we are doing. It's there are different production systems in Europe of animal farming. We have for conventional farming, outdoor farming, indoor farming, free range for poultry, organic, and all of our members are working in all these production systems with different lines and different breeds and different populations. And that's what we have to improve for the future, and what they are working on it. Of course, climate change is a big challenge, but as we said, antibiotic use or other biodiversity, including genetic diversity, are a big challenge for the future.
And what about the present? I mean, do you have any final remarks? Because I mean, all these attacks that you are receiving, I mean, what would you like to say?
Yeah, that's an important point, but well, that's normal. The point of animal breeding, I would say, is that it's a small sector compared to other ones, but with big impact, of course, because the decisions we make at the breeding level are going to impact farming later. But that's the point. It's a very important cornerstone on improving animal farming and to respond to the challenge we are facing today. So that's, I think that awareness about what animal breeding is currently, nowadays, in 2022, is the first starting point to make decisions for the future with other stakeholders and policymakers on what we have to do for the future. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for this first opportunity to deepen the subject, and I think we'll be in touch again also for these interviews, because the topic is much broader than this, and it was just an introduction. So I see you soon, and thank you very much again.
Thank you, Andrea. It was my pleasure.
Take care.